In a person's whole lifetime, they will experience the feeling of loneliness at least once. The feeling can especially be noticeable around the festive season, special occasions, or even extreme stress. It has become more common during this past year because of the pandemic, and that's why this quick set will be extremely helpful in learning healthy methods to cope with loneliness and understand it more. I'm Suprina, and let's delve a little deeper. It is so normal to feel lonely, and it's experienced by so many people. Here are some stats for you. 45% of adults feel occasionally, sometimes, or often lonely in England. This equates to 25 million people. It's also important to remember that young people feel lonely too. In fact, a survey by Action for Children found that 43% of 17 to 25-year-olds who have used their services have experienced problems with loneliness. But why do we feel lonely? There are different causes of loneliness, and it can differ from person to person, but here are some reasons. Work situations, feeling disconnected from family and friends, mental health concerns, and the expectation that you must be connected to everyone all of the time, especially because of social media. I can hugely relate to this topic because when I was at university, I experienced loneliness myself. I was away from my family and became distant with my friends during my final year. I found that period in my life so incredibly difficult and unfortunately resulted in unhealthy ways of coping. It also had such a huge effect on my physical and mental health. I wish I knew then what I know now, specifically about the prevention and coping methods. To learn more about the healthy and productive ways on dealing with loneliness, let's hear from Mauro Matali, who is a representative from the charity Relate, to discover some things you can do when you're feeling lonely or even isolated.
Hi everyone, so my name is Mauro Mortali. I am on the board of trustees of the relationship counselling charity Relate. The first thing to sort of say is that I think people's feelings of loneliness, it's quite an intense sort of personal experience, so it won't necessarily be the same for everybody. And also, feeling lonely isn't necessarily the same thing as being alone. Feeling lonely is definitely something that can have an impact on mental health, for example. So it's really important. It's something that we should be kind of aware of in ourselves, but also be paying attention to, in kind of friends and family around us, really. So there are some things that you can kind of potentially sort of look at as pick up as kind of signs of loneliness. I mean, I think sometimes a change in behavior is an indicator. So if somebody who you often see quite a lot, suddenly you don't see so much, could be a kind of signal there. Sometimes it could be somebody who is maybe a little bit more extroverted starts to become introverted. So, kind of why is that happening? You might have problems sleeping is a classic sort of sign. And some of these are probably also signs of potential sort of mental distress as well, that, is kind of worth keeping an eye on. So, so trouble sleeping, but equally trouble kind of getting out of bed. It could also be that you're feeling unproductive. You're struggling to kind of do stuff, or maybe you're getting stuck on negative thoughts or seeing the kind of negative side to a particular situation. And equally, you could potentially be getting too obsessed with a possession, a phone or something, rather than sort of people, really. So again, there's signs that sometimes that you can kind of possibly see in yourself or see in others that you should sort of pay attention to. The great thing about technology now is that it provides you with the means, for example, to find out that you're not alone, as in there are other people like you in the world that are experiencing the same sort of things that you are. I think it's really important as well that you try and make new connections, and that can be through joining a class or a sports team or something that you're kind of interested in. The other area also to consider is volunteering, because when you do volunteer work, it often gives you a sense of purpose, number one. And secondly, you're also able to kind of mix and meet sort of new people. So that's a kind of another sort of area. And then sort of finally, I think what I would also say is try not to compare yourself to other people. And this is ultimately the real curse of social media, is that people are able to share snippets of their lives to the outside world. So all you see is the sort of sanitized, sort of Snapchat filtered view of their lives, and it looks amazing. And the reality is we all kind of have our problems, our anxieties that we deal with on a daily basis. So as I say, don't pay too much attention to what others are doing, particularly in kind of social media, because as I say, it's just a snapshot. It's like the highlights of the football game, not the full sort of 90 minutes that includes all the sort of difficult, kind of boring bits. So hope that was helpful. Thank you.
Loneliness should not only be associated with images of being by yourself. Have you ever had the feeling where you're standing in a busy environment with loud crowds around you, conversations with your friends, laughter everywhere, but still feeling lonely? This is because you can be in a room full of people and still feel completely alone. And this is normal. I spoke to rapper AJ Tracey about being popular and still feeling lonely sometimes. Hey AJ, thank you so much for joining me. So this quick set is about loneliness, and 5 years ago you made a song called Leave Me Alone.
Yes.
And in that song you basically speak about being in the zone and working hard. So when it comes to making music now, do you still kind of enjoy doing it alone, and do you feel like the journey can kind of be lonely sometimes?
Yeah, I think, I don't want to be super deep, but I think the journey in general in life is lonely, because like obviously you're born alone and you're gonna die alone, innit? So like it's always lonely, but it's nice. I enjoy people's company, but I feel like I work better when I'm on my own, because I don't have to like pay attention to what other people are doing, be distracted, or even sometimes look out for people, you know what I'm saying? If I buy a massive house, if I buy like a mansion or something, I would kind of want some people to live with me, because like, not so that they're around me all the time, but so that I know they're in the house. Does that make sense? I don't need to see them, but I just knowing that there's people in the house is nice. You know what I'm saying? Yeah, just having people in there. Yeah.
No, I get you. And I feel like sometimes there's this misconception that people who are sociable or have loads of friends, it's impossible for them to feel lonely. And
of course not.
And as someone who has obviously a huge following, fans, and probably have a team around you all the time, can you understand why people might still feel lonely in a room full of people?
Yeah, of course. I feel lonely sometimes, but for me, it's more about like acknowledging where I am and why I feel lonely. As long as you've internalized it and you understand, like, I chose to be a rapper, do you get me? I chose to be in the public eye. Like, I can't just be upset all the time when people treat me a certain way, because this is what I chose. I'm saying I sacrificed my privacy essentially for, like being able to financially support my family and change our lives. So that's what I did. I'm not trying to sound like a martyr or anything, but hopefully me making this money means that when I do have kids, God willing, that they're not gonna have to be in the public eye or do anything crazy. They could just live their lives how I wish I could live my life, if that makes sense.
That's interesting.
Yeah, 100%.
And for people that might suffer from loneliness, do you have advice for them on how to, overcome any symptoms?
Yeah, 100%. I think for me personally, if I fall down, I'll just do something like silly, like I'll watch Family Guy or something to try and just lift my spirit, you know what I'm saying? Just do something that you don't have to concentrate on or think too hard about. It's always good to like call your mum or your dad or whoever it is that you're close with. For me, it's my mum. Just call your mum and just be like, oh, how you doing? How's your day been? And she'll check on you and you just keep that going and it's all good, you know what I'm saying? Everyone gets lonely. There's no one, I don't think there's anyone who could tell you that they don't get lonely, because everyone does.
When you said entertainment, I was about to say football, but I feel like that can stress you
No,
out, so maybe not.
Could definitely
maybe not
do
that.
the opposite and put you all the way down, so yeah, so maybe not that stuff.
Thank you so much, AJ.
You're welcome, thanks for having me.
Massive thank you to our guests who shared their advice and guidance in this quick set. Here are a few closing words that I have come to learn and love. The past cannot be changed. Overthinking will lead to sadness. Everyone's journey is different. Things get better with time. Happiness is found within. And finally, smiles are contagious. If you are struggling with loneliness, there are so many organizations out there to help you. Some include the Silver Line, Relate, Support Line, and many more. Here are a few more Apprentice Nation videos to check out. Stepping out of your comfort zone, boost your positivity with real-time tips, and create inner peace with mindfulness. I found some really good quotes to inspire you to focus and be your best self. I have a challenge for you. Select your favorite quote from those on the screen or find your own and set them as your phone screensaver. Sometimes you find yourself in the middle of nowhere, and sometimes in the middle of nowhere you find yourself. A season of loneliness and isolation is where the caterpillar gets its wings. Remember that next time you are feeling alone. Standing alone doesn't mean you are alone. It means you are strong enough to handle things by yourself. Don't chase people. Be yourself, do your own thing, and work hard. The right people, the ones who really belong in your life, will come and stay.